Right. Okay, right. So firstly, congratulations on a fascinating and funny film. It does throw up a lot of questions. Perhaps, Simon, you could tell us about the inspirations for the film.
Well, the inspiration is a crazy but true story of two brothers that kidnapped Charlie Chaplin's body in 1977 and had his body in their house for like several weeks. Well, the coffin they had in there, they actually just took the whole thing. And they tried to ransom it back to the Chaplin family. And this was obviously in the 70s in Switzerland, where he's actually buried. But yeah, we sort of took it as a jumping off point, thinking, well, I mean, I heard this story, and it's one of those things where you're like, is this true? This sounds like like an urban legend. It doesn't sound like it would actually be true, but it was true. And we used that as a bit of a jumping off point. But obviously we set it in Vegas, and we had two lovable rogues, I think, with a get rich quick scheme, and that was our go point. So I was very inspired by true events.
Yeah, and obviously without sounding too morbid, there is a bit of a bizarre fascination with the death around like some of our biggest cultural heroes and icons. From all of the entertainment icons that a story like this could have focused on, what do you think it is about the Chaplin part of the story that's so captivating?
Because it's like the plot of a Chaplin movie. It's so ridiculous and so like farcical. It feels like the outline for a story that Chaplin would have made. And that's when we were making the movie, I was chatting with Ken when we had the script early doors, and when we'd finished the movie. The thing for us is that we handled all the Chaplin stuff, I think, quite respectfully. But actually, we had this idea of like, I wonder if Charlie Chaplin would have liked our movie, because it was equally ridiculous, obviously. And that was kind of our goal. We'll make a movie that maybe Chaplin would have liked.
Yeah. And then what really kind of did it was, having two Brits in Las Vegas and the contrast of like two goofy, totally screw up guys planted in the middle of a city that's known for the get rich quick schemes and all the shady deals and kind of mix in a little bit of the underworld. And we really felt that Chaplin himself would have liked it.
Well, not two, like one idiot and one kind of good-looking guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot you were here, Simon.
All right, sorry.
Obviously, as everyone would sort of expect a little bit, there's the use of sort of slapstick forms, an aspect of the film. To what extent was that something that you were aware of and using it within the film and trying to avoid cliches and stuff?
There was it's sort of a dialogue-driven movie, obviously, so a lot of the comedy comes from the brothers' dialogue, and we chatted about this before, actually, that the two brothers are sort of on their own in the movie, and everybody else is playing it very seriously and very straight, and the two brothers are sort of in their own world. And it was funny because Ken was talking about, Ken is another member of the Underworld cast. They all have to play their things very seriously whilst we, they play it straight whilst we sort of do the comedy. But obviously when they're around us, when they're actually filming the scenes, there's a big temptation for them to be funny as well, but obviously we had to, I think we were quite pleased when we, Ken, that we'd, not just for Ken's character, but all the, the cast, that everybody understood as like, oh, you just have to let the brothers be the brothers, and everybody else has to do their job, kind of completely straight, and that somehow made it funny. So it wasn't really a slapstick thing, but there was, because there isn't too much physical comedy in it. So there's a little bit, but there's not too much. But I think it comes from that awkward buddy road movie type thing. It's two Brits abroad, it's definitely a dialogue-driven comedy that we went for rather than a physical one.
And if you look at some of the movies in the 40s, 50s, and even through today, sometimes you'll watch a movie like this where the heavies or the serious actors start picking up the rhythm of the comedy actors. And sometimes it's done on purpose, but a lot of times I don't really think it is. I mean, I think that it's a mistake. And we really knew the first scenes that we shot were in the diner. So Paul and Simon were on in the spotlight. The entire cast was there. And when we started seeing, that this could be very, very funny, we were more resolute to say, okay, we got to really toe the line on the heavy part. Don't pick up their rhythm. As far as the physical comedy goes, we talked a lot about after we had made the movie as to whether or not maybe we should have had some more physical comedy in. But physical comedy is tough because you always run the risk of putting too much in, or it starts looking contrived, and then people get that bothers the audience. So it's got to come more natural. I think that if we do a sequel, we're going to concentrate a little bit more on putting some physical comedy in, but not overdoing it.
How difficult is that to sort of balance when you've got a character like Charlie Chaplin at the center of it, I suppose?
I mean, it sort of when we were coming about the story, we handled all that. We decided that we would handle the Chaplin stuff quite respectfully. Obviously, there was a big temptation to open the coffin and be sort of Weekend at Bernie's with the body. That would have been our physical comedy. But we thought, no, we won't do that. In fact, the Chaplin family saw the movie, so because when we complete the movie, the Chaplin family got in touch and said, "Hey, what's this about?" And we were like, "Oh yeah," and they're deciding whether this is Hollywood. They're deciding whether to sue us or not. And then they watch the movie and they go, oh, "Okay, no, we're not going to sue you," because partly I think the way we treated the Chaplin bit of the story was like, "Oh, actually, all that was quite respectful." And actually, one of these little tidbits that we give people is that all of the characters in the movie are named after Chaplin characters in Chaplin movies. So all the names are from, so including Ken's one, isn't it? Heinkel is the
right. Well, Heinkel and mine was Schultz.
Schultz, and sorry, you two, the bad guys. Sorry, Heinkel and Schultz. Yeah, you were the. I think you're from The Great Dictator. Is that right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. The writer picked all the names. Kind of a cute
they were the names that the Chaplin family were particularly interested in because they were the most recognizable to them, being in one of his arguably most seen and most familiar movie.
Yeah, because I suppose Josh has asked a question about sort of technically where the film isn't necessarily about Chaplin. There's still a certain amount of research and, as you say, sort of respect that you have to give that area to sort of subtly reference things. How did you sort of balance that and get that right, do you think, in your opinion? You talk about sort of treating it with respect. How do you feel like you achieved that?
Well, we didn't bring his name into disrespect. So actually, despite all this chaos that's going around, I mean, he's the centerpiece of what's going on. Like, it's all about his body, but of course, in some ways, he's the absolute sort of centerpiece of the movie, and in other ways, he's completely irrelevant to the story. Sort of it doesn't actually drive the story forward. It just sort of anchors it a little bit. But when we were sort of deciding about how much to put in, we actually put in the chapters with some Chaplin quotes and stuff like that, because we broke the story up, and Chaplin had he was a wonderfully wise man, and he has lots of memorable quotes. And in the research and sort of reading of it, we're like, we've got to get these in there somehow. Like, these are like wonderful things, and they were really relevant to the story. So you put a quote in that was relevant to what was about to happen, about love, laughter, friendship, etc., etc. And we found all those things. We put it all in. So we built that with a Chaplin at the base. But obviously, Chaplin's a dead body in the movie. He doesn't really do anything. Now, obviously, if you've seen the movie, you're aware we have the narration in the movie, sort of a voiceover. And I think it's probably okay to give it away here. But obviously, the narrator is Chaplin, but you probably don't realize that right till the end. So he's narrating our ridiculous idea, sort of, and only at the end you realize, oh, the narrator is the body in the coffin, or is Chaplin. But I think we handled it. Honestly, I think we pitched it just right. Actually, we had
during pre-production, all the producers, Simon, myself, Paul, who was also the director, we on our own read a lot about Charlie Chaplin and discussed it, and then our screenwriter, Doug Phillips, who is no relation to Simon, except he does play the brother. He did a lot of research, and he was able to weave some in. We could take a look at the balance, cut some things, add a few things. We wanted Chaplin to be represented, but like Simon said, he's really not the integral part of the movie.
Yeah. So what's your guys' sort of affiliation, I suppose, with the sort of silent era? Was there a little bit of a nod to the silent era and stuff in this? A bit of a virtual love letter?
I mean, it's, you know, sort of obviously we're not a silent movie at all. We do a lot of talking, you know. So, but Ken has a big of us all. I think Ken is a big fan of maybe not the silent era, but the sort of 30s and 40s. You know, that sort of where story. To be honest, movies were a bit more dialogue driven because action and stuff like that was very hard to do. So, you know, movies had to be sort of crafted with words, you know, sort of a bit more than they are today. There was no CGI, or, you know, it was very difficult to do any of those things. So I wouldn't say that it's a nod to the, you know, it's not a nod to the silent era films. The only thing we have is this sort of farcical story. Obviously, it's not very realistic. It's a comedy. It's a bit out there.
But we do have the brothers. You know, we have you guys actually in a theater watching a silent film. Which
we have it, and we have it on TV, don't we, at some point?
You know, and laughing, you know, and kind of reminding the newer audiences that maybe it's not bad to look back at some of these. You know, Charlie Chaplin's contribution to the industry that we're all enjoy right now was enormous, and that's an understatement. You know, he was one of the actual inventors or creators of the motion picture business. So yeah, it kind of wraps up nice as a package.
What parts of the film are you particularly proud of, or particularly happy with the way things turned out?
I'm happy with the way all of my scenes turned out, and unhappy with all of Ken's scenes. And
the same opposite for you, Ken?
In reverse, you know. I have to say, one of the things that I have my own personal love of is the cemetery scenes, both the ones during the day when the two brothers are walking around the cemetery, and then the actual excavation, if you will. And there's a funny story that goes along with it. Simon had been out. We found a cemetery in Las Vegas that was going to allow us to shoot, and in fact, I think we had to purchase a gravesite or a plot.
We did
that we were going to donate back and give to charity. And at the last minute, we were shooting at Champagne's Cafe in Las Vegas the Wayne Newton scene, and that day, and we got a call. Simon did. And they told us they would be uncomfortable with us shooting. The deal was off. They didn't want to have people driving by seeing us, you know, digging up a coffin, which of course we weren't really digging up a coffin. And there would be a whole bunch of crew and riggings and cameras around, and anybody that had half brain could figure out we were shooting a movie. But anyway, we lost that location. So that evening and early the next morning, I finally got one of the local cemeteries to allow us to film the day scenes in, but we didn't really know that was going to happen, and we were kind of talking about it, and Wayne Newton came up to us and said, "Hey, how's everything going?" And we said, "Hey, everything's going great," and we thanked them, and we said, "We are having a bit of a problem today because we just lost a location that we're set to shoot at tomorrow." And we explained to him, and he said, "Well, why don't you guys come and shoot it in my backyard?" Well, you know, we're like, no, you know, we need something that's going to look like a cemetery. We got, you know, he said, "Well, just come on over and take a look." I didn't go. Paul and Simon went, and you can tell him, Simon, what.
Yeah, he was very modest. It was his backyard, and his backyard is like 2 city blocks. He's got like a zoo in his, and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is." And he was like, "I was thinking just here," and he's like, "I'm like, oh, that's actually perfect. He had like this lush green rolling, his backyard was in the middle of Las Vegas. So it was in the city, but 2 city blocks of it was his backyard, and you're like, yeah, this is, I mean, I don't know what I'd call this, but probably not a backyard is not the word I would use here, Wayne. But yes, it's perfect. One of these gardens, you have to have a golf buggy to get around it, he let us dig up, he let us dig a 6-foot hole in his back garden. So we're worried if somebody like TMZ were looking over the thing, they'd be seeing like Wayne Newton's property there, so burying someone and digging a hole. People would be like, "Oh, geez, I didn't."
Thanks for explaining.
So and when you look at it in the final cut, it's very difficult to realize. I don't think anybody picked up on anything there.
No.
It turned out just wonderful, and that was that could have been a mess because you guys know when you shoot a movie, we had the schedule up, everything was ready to go. You just don't say, oh well, we won't do it tomorrow, we'll do something else. It's so it really worked out great. Wayne Newton, by the way, is the absolute greatest guy you're ever going to meet.
Greatest guy in showbiz, for sure.
Unbelievable. We a little bit of humor when Paul and Simon and I were out to dinner with him one night, and we were talking a little bit about England, and Wayne made he wasn't being pretentious, or he was just made a small comment saying, yeah, my first command performance there was in front of the Queen Mother. And it's like, oh, okay. So I guess you've been there before.
Yeah, well, we asked him, it was like, has he met the Queen? And he was like, yeah, a few times. And they're like, oh, okay.
Pretty standard. Yeah, play it down.
He's very good friends with Tom Jones as well. And so they did some work out in the UK, so. Yeah,
Welsh
so he's just a super, super guy.
Yeah. Josh, were you going to say something? Josh just asked, what's the goals with the piece? Have you heard how well it's being received? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, we got 3 stars in the Guardian just last week. So we're it's out. It's been out on all its streaming platforms since Monday. So I mean, we don't know numbers or anything exciting like that just yet, but I think critically, it's if you buy into the story, then you're going to be, sort of thing. You have to sort of suspend a bit of disbelief, sort of, to enjoy the movie. But if you do, I think it's popcorn. You watch it, and I think you can switch off a little bit. And it's a bit of there's a lot of depressing stuff going on in the world right now. I think, and a little bit of escapism is needed sometimes. Sort of. So, and this is what that is.
As an American, I'm very interested to see how it's going to do in the UK, because you could have called this movie Two Brits in Las Vegas, and I think I'm just interested to see how the audiences there are going to proceed.
Right, that sort of leads on to our last question, which is asking you guys what's next and how can people watch the movie, and any final things that you want to talk about.
Well, what's next for us is that so I'm sure you know this, but we put some stuff. So the next things that are coming out are sort of things we've already done, because we've filmed a little bit already. We have a TV show called Age of the Living Dead, which is on Amazon Prime right now, and we have a 2nd season ready to drop very, very soon, and indeed a 3rd one to film. So we're working hard on that. But in terms of our our films. We're warming up on a sequel to. Well, I'm going to tell you now. We're warming up on a sequel to Stealing Chaplin, and if I tell you what it's called, you'll probably work out what we're doing. It's called Stealing Elvis. So it's myself and Ken went down to Memphis and checked out some locations in Memphis, and that's where the brothers are heading next.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh said not Michael Jackson. You're on the hit list.
It's got a list of names down, you know.
Yeah,
sort of,
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
great.
You know, and the whole thing is that, you know, again, we always intend on treating the corpus delicti very, you know, very nicely. This is not a slam on them. It's just a way of taking the Chaplin movie and seeing if we can put a few more installments on the tail end of it.
Yeah, great. Sounds brilliant. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for your time. We'll let you get on, and
Well, we hope everybody gets a chance to watch it. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll make sure we put all of the links and everything to it in the
great.
up and everything, and then best of luck with it.
Okay, Josh. Thank you very much, Josh, for the opportunity, and James, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Thanks, James.
Bye.
See you
Simon.
later. Bye.
you.